Forbes Books presents Sustainable Leadership and Disruptive Growth with David Radlo. Transformation for a new and better world. Here's David.
Welcome back to my talk with Thomas Dakich, an attorney with more than 30 years of experience in the development of telecommunications and data centers. We've been discussing his leadership journey and legal expertise, but now we're going to get into high-speed technology disruption and the quantum corridor. Tom, you're working on a great project that's making high-speed fiber optic cables a reality, starting in Chicago and moving east through underserved communities and rural areas. Can you tell us how this all came together?
So I grew up in Gary, Indiana. And Gary, Indiana has a large swath of area that is below the poverty line. I think the first district, congressional district in Indiana, is the most industrial or most manufacturing heavy district in all of Congress. It might be second or third, but so there is a lot of industry in Northwest Indiana. There are a lot of diversity issues. There's a lot of diversity. There's a lot of diverse people there. There's cultures there. There's all kinds of different things. What has happened in Northwest Indiana is there is a stark number of places that don't have access to the internet. There's no way for people in these really, really downtrodden areas to get to the internet. The bandwidth is not there. So some brilliant people. I built data centers, and I built a data center in Hammond, Indiana, which took a coal incinerating power plant, one of the worst, if not the worst, in the United States for more than 29 years, and shuttered it, turned it down, shuttered it, and turned it into a data center that has jobs and goes from our saying was from the old cloud to the new cloud. This is what we're doing in Hammond, Indiana. So an important part of data centers is fiber. We are running a fiber connection between downtown Chicago through the south side of Chicago, through the Hammond and East Chicago and Whiting and Gary and into all the way out to a Purdue campus in north central Indiana, with the idea of creating the best, fastest, least latency, highest security fiber network available to mankind. It's a partnership with Sienna and Juniper. And the idea here is that we're going to make fiber concentration, put it into areas that it doesn't help, that where people haven't had a chance before, where there's no jobs in tech. There's no jobs in tech. There's literally no jobs in tech in these areas. Those jobs have started. We've started to train some people on those jobs. The idea is that the worst, you can't take the worst, you're only as good as your worst neighbor in your neighborhood. And this neighborhood is downtrodden. They have not had the chance to have these things. So we're spending, with the state of Indiana's dumping in millions of dollars, and we're putting in millions of dollars to make it such that the area that from that South Chicago into Northwest Indiana will have access to the internet that is as good, if not better, than anywhere in the world.
And you're going to continue to follow this after you finish. You're going to keep going. Am I right?
Our next shot is to go out to Cleveland, because there's a whole bunch of areas that don't know what they don't know, right? If I'm sitting in my house in Indiana and I have a cold, I can hit one of my apps and go to a telemedicine and have a doctor prescribe a Z-Pack or whatever it is for me. You can't do that in these places. If my kids wanted to do their homework, they could dial in. In these places, you can't do it. It's not available. So the quality of life that they've got, the chances that they have are so much less. And getting across the country with these networks isn't that hard. The fiber already exists. You got to make certain that it's a certain type of fiber and all that sort of stuff. But the state of Indiana, the governor of Indiana, a guy named Eric Holcomb, is and a lieutenant governor, Suzanne Crouch. They basically said, Tom, just tell us what we need to do, and we'll go attack this. We'll go with you and attack this issue. But if people don't understand that it exists, or that you can do your homework from your house, you're at a disadvantage. So we're heading out to Cleveland after we get done with. We're going to go all the way across the state of Indiana and go into Cleveland and see how that goes.
Okay, Tom, there's two schools of thought as we're here on Forbes Book Radio looking at this. And one school of thought is that these things are absolutely huge. You're looking at huge tracks, okay? And maybe this is about older people may say they're huge. And then the younger people say, oh, well, they're putting them up in the cloud. You can't even see them, okay? Can you give us just an idea how big we're talking about? And you don't have to say exactly where they run on the train track, but what are we looking at? Like how big they are, how far underground, if they're underground, and could you just give us like a picture if you could?
Sure. We paid $1 million up front and 120 grand a year to be able to have 288 strand of fiber stretch for a long way, whatever, 189 miles or something. So to have 288 strand of fiber go that, each one of those strands is smaller than a hair. It's literally that small is how much, and these 288 strands of fiber will communicate, and the techie people will, if when techie people listen to this, they're going to say I'm wrong, but I'm not. That 288 strands communicates effectively an infinite amount of information. Those 288 strands can communicate more information than we all as humans and everything in the whole planet at the same time. That's just 288 strands of hair that stretch for 180 miles or something like that. That's the size. And it's easy because you have to make certain you have the right fiber. But at the end of the day, it's expensive. But there are companies out there that want to communicate that level of communication. Quantum computing is coming because these flower computing things are where computers start thinking for themselves is coming. And if grandma's driving down the street in a vehicle and there's an autonomous vehicle that wrecks into her, you're going to be like, well, I wanted better autonomous technology before you had it there. Well, if the autonomous technology isn't perfect, grandma's going to be in trouble. So getting this stuff so it's right, and and there's as much information as open as you possibly can is our goal, and we can do it off of 288 strands of hair.
Okay, do you have the fiber optic train track already laid down?
We spent $30 million and put it's actually underneath underneath the Indiana Toll Road, but our group has got it in the ground and it's functioning today. What we're doing with the quantum corridor is we're putting better, stronger, more robust optical gear at each end of the at each end of the connection, and making it such that it goes better, faster, and stronger.
Are you basically saying that you're going to give the underserved communities and a lot of the agriculture communities an opportunity to have the fastest fiber optic computing on the planet, or the fastest? And just give us some examples of what it exactly will do and how lives will improve.
So today I'm gonna take Indiana. I'm taking northwest corner of Indiana. So imagine if you have a highway that's 100 miles long, right? In Indiana, it's I-65, cuts north and south. It goes 263 miles to be precise. Imagine if you have that highway and you can get from Gary, Indiana, which is where it starts, right at Lake Michigan, and go down to all the way. It literally goes to the Gulf of Mexico. I-65 does. But you have that highway. Okay, that's great. The feds built that highway. That's wonderful. But the only reason why it's wonderful is because there's off ramps. If you had to start at the beginning and you couldn't get off till the end, what value does that do anybody? So other than somebody who wants to go across the country from north to south. So what we did as a humanity is build off ramps, and we made it such that Bob Evans and Menards or whatever, there's all the McDonald's can sell hamburgers and people can get off and have a life and build communities around these highways that are there. So the digital highway is the same thing. If you have a long haul fiber network that starts in New York and ends in San Francisco, and that's all it does. There's no connection to it. It doesn't do anything. That's fine. It will communicate light. It will communicate data between New York, between one end and the other, but it doesn't do anybody between there any good. So what we've done is basically say we're going to create off ramps. We're going to create it such that big tech companies who are trying to do the right thing. I haven't met one person who's not trying to do the right thing, and really haven't. Nobody wants to screw consumers, but give them the chance, give them the opportunity to say, okay, if we create an off ramp off of our long haul fiber network, and now we can put servers and we can put routers in here that will serve the local community. You can quickly and less expensively and better bring fiber to places and bring communication tools that will maybe it's as simple as they can watch Hulu and Netflix better, but it also means they can get to telemedicine and they can get their schoolwork better.
Okay, so that's great. So they have an opportunity to have the fastest, and so it gives them it doesn't no longer have a competitive disadvantage in underserved communities and poor rural areas. It really gives them a competitive advantage, or for that matter, at least puts them on the same playing field, so they can reach their dreams and make them realities.
Imagine if you were in charge of bringing jobs to a town that had free Wi-Fi anywhere you wanted, and you're going to an architecture firm and saying, relocate to my town, and I will get you all the bandwidth you want for $5,000 a month. Okay, great. And then I'll imagine you're running a town in which you say you want that same architecture firm to relocate. I mean, it's 60 jobs or whatever. And you're saying, yeah, I can't get you any internet. I can't get you there. How does the guy who's running the architecture firm choose to go to the location, go to the city that you can't get internet there? He never will.
I've heard a lot of grumblings as well even in the agriculture community about this. Beth Ford of Land O'Lakes spoke on this. Quite certain the people at Rose Acres, Marcus Rust and Greg Hinton are 100% behind this. I mean, everybody seems to be in the agri areas as well as the underserved communities to be something championing that this is a real great thing, and it looks like there's a lot of positive people that you've spoken to in government that feel the same way.
The CHIPS Act, it's not a land grab. It's not a spend for no reason. The CHIPS Act is designed to try to put digital communication, digital highway on the same level as sewers and highways and roadways. And it's going to work. People go to places like Gary, Indiana. People are going to relocate their businesses to Gary, Indiana, in part because there's going to be digital infrastructure there. And it's not, and if if I'm on the 37th floor of a high rise in downtown Chicago right now, but if something happens and I'm gone, there's going to be a legion of people who are smarter and more creative than I am, who will come in here and take those, the stuff that was done by Congress to create this act. And they're going to take it, they're going to do more. They're probably better at it than I am. And they're going to get rural America to see the same sorts of things that suburban America has gotten. But so you're exactly right. It's just people paying attention. And today, more people pay attention to African American communities. More people are paying attention to equality. More people are paying attention to ESG. More people are paying attention to sustainability than ever before. And people who aren't paying attention to it are getting penalized. And that's the way it should be.
This is such a great project. How far are you on grants? What money do you need, both federally and also statewide? What do you need to make this a reality?
I need some customers. We have the Governor Holcomb and Lieutenant Governor Crouch they have a program called the Ready Grant. And so the first $4 million has come into this. We've already put 30 million in to build the infrastructure. The state has been great. So the first 4 million will be here. We've already got the technology sitting. It's being tested right now. So the first 4 million is coming in there. Our first fund $2 million. We closed it, and we closed it 2 weeks ago, maybe. So we're funded all the way through the end of this calendar. Our next fund would be, I think it's going to be 4.1 million, I think, and it's going to be targeted directly toward fiber for underprivileged areas, for areas that are underserved. But the most important thing we need tech companies to look at this and say, I want to be part of it. We need tech companies to say, if you're going to create a tech park that's going to have fantastic communication, perfect power, it's the building and the area is going to be in an area that's an opportunity zone, in an area that is going to actually help on all levels of diversity and minority inclusion. And we are training. We are trying to create better programs for training, jobs training. If all that is going to happen, we need some larger companies to come in and say they want to be part of it. They would like to locate at least some part of their workforce, or at least some part of their technology, servers and those sorts of things, into Northwest Indiana to give us a little bit of a fire start. Right now, we are under customered. We have 3 customers. We are needing a few more customers.
You want to share their customers' names, or you would like to share anything that can help you get more customers?
If somebody who's listening to this has a tech idea or has a need for expansion and needs to communicate directly to the backbone at 350 Cermak in downtown Chicago, and has to have security, and it really, really is going to be reliant upon their network, I would love to talk to them, because our people are scouring the earth trying to find companies who are interested in those, who see the value in that, who are saying, okay, there's a bunch of people that need to build, that are making books and all that sort of stuff, and book presses or whatever. But we're looking for somebody who's writing the content of those books, who's trying to basically say, okay, we're a research facility that's working on digital farming or vertical farming, or we're trying to figure out a different way to solve carpal. There's a group that we're working with who's got a grant working on literally decreasing carpal tunnel. It's people who have got research or development or ideas or ways, things that they have to do that involves tech and communications, secure tech and communications. We would love to talk to them. The state of Indiana is open for business. The governor and his staff, they will go out of their way to say, come to Indiana and take a look at what we're doing up there. But most importantly, we want you to understand the importance of ESG and diversity and minority representation in these communities. And we want to be part of your solution. And maybe you just get a look and we don't get anything out of it. Every time I get a chance to present, I get excited.
And the website to go to, want more information and to contact Tom?
digitalcrossroad.com.
Okay. Tom, it's been a great pleasure having you on a podcast. I mean, I've learned a tremendous amount, and this is really great. We're really, really excited, Tom, and I know you are, and I can't thank you enough for coming on the podcast.
David, this was a thrill. I really appreciate you guys having me on, and I'm looking forward to the next time that we can sit around and discuss the world.
Sounds good.
To connect with David, go to davidradlo.com. David's book set, The Principles of Cartel Disruption and Secret Stories of Leadership, Growth, and Innovation, are available wherever books are sold. This has been Sustainable Leadership and Disruptive Growth with David Radlo, a presentation of Forbes Books.